Hey guys, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be making a Dubby minimal house track from start to finish. So if you want to hear the finished product, you can skip to the time at the top of the description. I'll give you a moment to do that. And yeah, so as always, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that kind of stuff that you just heard in the description of this video. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there. They'll be available shortly. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to delete these tracks, and we are going to start with a kick. So what I'm going to do here is I have some files prepared here, and I have a kick. This one. And so this is usually the type of kick you would want for one of these kinds of tracks. Let's go to like 127. Something super deep and still kind of like punchy like this. You don't want like a soft kick, but just something like very deep and kind of smooth like this. So let's put in some quarter notes on that. I'll make a loop. Let's make an 8-bar loop here. There we go. And we'll put in quarter notes like I said. Awesome. And then what we can do is we can process this a little bit. I'll put some drum bus on it. Kind of fatten it up. Maybe we'll turn that down slightly. There we go. And let's also EQ it because I want to make a bit of a cut around there. Yeah. Alright, there we go. Sounding pretty good. So we're going to check the tuning of this kick as well. I believe. Yeah, okay, so it's in F sharp. It's jumping around, but it's in F sharp. So the next thing we're going to make here is a bass. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use operator. So we're in F sharp. So let's make a little bass sound. I'm going to get a saw wave. And we're going to put it into this low pass with a bit of an envelope. Let's do it like that. You still want it to be super deep and dark sounding. And then let's just try to come up with something cool that works with the groove that I have in mind here. Let's give that a bit of swing as well. I'm trying to take every note, every single one of the 16th notes, and just move it back a little bit like this. And there we go. Alright, there we go. Just something a little bit more than just like that little thing where it was just on F sharp and then C sharp. But cool. So we'll take this and just duplicate that. And that gives us a pretty solid groove to start with. I say this in a lot of these videos, but it's like when you're making dance music like this, especially something that's meant to be like deep and dubby, you definitely want to like start with the kick and the bass. Like always start with that because that's really the foundation of these kinds of tracks. Like just not just house music, but dance music in general is really like the groove between the kick and the bass is really what makes it. So I like to just start with that and kind of build everything up on top of it, as opposed to just starting with like say a melody or like a chord stab or a percussion loop or something like that. This is a bit more of like a focused kind of way to do it, I feel like. Cool, so we can work on this bass sound a little bit. Maybe we'll give it a little bit more resonance. Yeah, that sounds cool. Let's give it a bit of EQ8 as well. I can kind of make a cut. Some of those like muddy frequencies are getting in the way. And we'll also make a cut around 100. There we go. And that just lets the kick come through a little bit more, because the kick is really punching through like a lot around that range, you can see. So by cutting that on the bass, it kind of makes some room. But nice, sounds good. Let's turn these down a little bit and just kind of like get the master hitting properly. There we go. You know, when you're working on a track, usually this little number tells you basically how loud your track is. And you want your track to be hitting between like -4 and -6. You know, like before I had it at like -2 or so. That's when you need to start turning it down, because pretty soon it's going to be clipping. But yeah, you can see like I don't have any limiter on the master. I'm not compressing the master. I'm not doing anything like that. It's just clean leveling and just knowing how to kind of put things together in a way that's not going to, you know, get all clipping and messy sounding. But cool. So let's add a bit of saturation to this to kind of fatten it up. Yeah, you can hear that. Cool, and then I'm going to also sidechain it to the kick, I believe, just a little bit. Just to kind of help the groove. In this style, I feel like it helps. Let's put the kick in there. And there we go, you know, just gives it a little bit more bounce. And then we can group these together. I'm going to use a bit of saturation on the group. You can hear that really helps to fatten them up. I'm also going to put a little bit of compression on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm turning up the attack on the compressor. So basically the way this works is the attack is like how long it takes for the compressor to kick in. So if you turn it up a little bit, what you can do is you can kind of get the compression out of the way of your transients. If you look at this kick, you can see it has a pretty sharp transient right here, this part, and then we have like the body of our sound. If you compress the transient too much, what will happen is it'll just flatten it out. You won't really have a punch. You'll just have like a long note, basically. So if you turn up the attack on the compressor, you can keep it out of the way of the transients, but still compressing the body of the sound. And yeah, it keeps it from being so like squashed. Alright, let's see what that's hitting. Nice. And then the last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to get an EQ. We're going to just cut out some of those muddy frequencies that like I've been doing all along the way here. And then we're going to give it a low end boost. Nice. So I'll show you. So here's with none of the group processing we just did, and then I'll slowly turn things on. You can hear it really makes a big difference for kind of like bringing these to life. And the thing is with these kind of tracks, you know, I feel like a lot of times there's this misconception that like you want like softer drums, or you don't want them to hit super hard, or you know, you don't want to pay a lot of attention to that. But like you really need to pay attention to that. You can see like this still has that chill kind of laid back minimal vibe. It's a lot fatter sounding now. It's a lot more full sounding. It's a lot more professional sounding. But yeah, so from here I'm going to add, I think I'm going to add another synth. Let's get an analog here. We're going to make kind of like a chord stab of sorts. So I have this idea for a sound. What I want to do is let's just get two saw waves. We'll detune them a little bit. And then let's get the amp envelope and just make it like a long, like a brick. There we go. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to put those through the filter, and then on the filter we're going to put an envelope. That's kind of like going down like that. There we go. Alright, I'm not sure how this is going to sound, but we'll see. I'll show you kind of what I have. Oh, there we go. Okay, that sounds cool. We just have to kind of work with it. Like, let's get the side chain on there. Put it up an octave. And give it a bit of resonance. That's cool. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to turn on the LFO as well. We'll put the rate up a little bit. And I'm going to put that on the filter. So we have the envelope and the LFO on there. And you'll hear. Kind of gives it like a little bit more of a groove. It makes it less like boring. Let's give it some chorus. And a bit of echo as well. And let's turn up that LFO amount. Nice, and we can play around with the automation of that LFO time as well. I think that'll sound really cool. Awesome, so I'm going to put a drum bus on there because this needs to be kind of fattened up a little. Sounding pretty good there. There we go. Alright, sounding cool. Now let's get an EQ8 on there and just cut out some low end. Try one more octave. Yeah, there we go. And I think I'm going to sidechain that a little bit more. Nice. Alright, sounds pretty cool. Cool, let's add some more. I'm probably going to add some more synths and stuff, but let's add some drums now. That's what I feel like doing. So, what I'm going to do here is, once this loads, there we go. I have a bunch of hi-hats. I have a clap. Bunch of hi-hats. Some percussion. I'm going to just put some stuff together here. What I'm going to do is we're going to put all the hi-hats. Well, actually, I'm just going to use one main hi-hat first. We're going to get one sort of like. Let's use that one. On the upbeat. So we're going to put this one like this. There we go. We'll cut out the low end on that. Cool, and then now we'll do that plan. So now I'm going to get a drum rack, and we're going to just put the 3 other hi-hats in that drum rack, and then we'll just kind of like make a cool little sort of loop here. I'm going to make a 4-bar MIDI clip, and we can just, kind of play around here. Usually the hi-hats are pretty busy in this style, especially when you're going a little bit faster, like in this case, like we're at 127. Cool. Like the key here is making something that's like busy but not too busy, and not even like busy, I would say, but like just a lot of cool stuff going on. Like you want it to really accentuate the groove, and you want to make it more interesting. You don't want it to just be this extra thing that you have to put in there. You want it to be something that you feel like needs to be in there. I mean, what I mean by that is sort of like, it has to be in there because it's so good, as opposed to just, I have to make some percussion or, something like that. That those hi-hats in a group together. I usually put the hi-hats in a group and then the low end in the group, so in this case the kick and the bass, and then all the percussion in a group. So, and maybe I'll do it with the chord stabs as well. But let's put this on the group here. We're going to put a bit of drum bus. You can hear the difference that's making. And you'll notice here also it's like with the sound selection, like I have sort of like the louder one is that main upbeat hi-hat, and then all these little quieter sort of like smaller samples are the ones I'm using for the like extra percussive ones. So, you know, with the sample selection, it is pretty important. Like if you did it the other way around, big hi-hats as the little percussive ones, and then small ones trying to be your main hi-hats, it would sound kind of weird. Let's turn that down a little. Awesome, it sounded pretty cool. So let's name that. Let's name that the hi-hat group. We'll name this one pad stab because it's kind of like a pad. We'll name this bass. That's already named. And then we'll name this low end bus. Alright, cool. So next I'm gonna add, well, I'm gonna pull up the clap that I have. We'll put that in here. We're just gonna put that in on the 2 and the 4. Pretty standard stuff. Yeah, there we go. Cool, and we can get all this percussion as well. I have like a bunch of different little samples here. Just kind of like these smaller, sort of more minimal style percussions. These are what you want for this type of track. But yeah, so I'm just taking these and I'm going to put these in a drum rack, and then we're going to make a little loop. And I'm just going to add a little bit with the percussion. You don't want to go too crazy because we do already have pretty busy hi-hats, but in this style, I mean, it works. There we go, that sounds cool. Let's copy that over, make some changes. There we go. Alright, and then we'll just make that a little 2-bar loop, and then we can loop that. Nice. Alright, cool. And then let's group the clap and those percussions together. We'll name this percussion group. Alright, and then let's add a bit of, let's put some saturation on there to kind of fan it up. There we go. We'll cut out some low end as well. Awesome, this sounds pretty good. I'm going to go in here and do a little bit more stuff to the hi-hats. I want to add some reverb. There we go. And I also want to go on this little drum rack with all the little hi-hats in it and try putting some echo on there. So this is a good technique because these are kind of like these extra little percussive hi-hats, right? But when you add this echo to them, you're adding in like extra little... You're kind of adding in some extra little hits here and there, and I feel like it really helps to bring it to life, you know? It makes it not just like... not just like playing a bunch of samples, but more, like I said, like alive and kind of playing live. So let's change this back to 8 notes and move forward. Cool, so let's check on the master. We can probably turn everything down. Like I said, we want to be hitting around -4 to -6. Right now, we're starting to climb up, so let's turn everything down here. There we go. And let's try adding another stab here. So I'm going to get analog for this one, and we're going to just make something. Let's put in some notes here first and then kind of see where to go from there. That's cool. We can work with the sound a little bit. Let's get unison on there as well. Nice, that sounds cool. And then I'm going to try putting some of this resonator on here as well. We'll tune it to F sharp minor. So we got F sharp, we'll put a +3, and then a +7. So there we go. And the cool thing about this is, like, when we play with the filter, you can hear it really changes the way that sounds. So we have a lot of room to make cool automations. Like, obviously this is very much a loop. So to make this like a full track, we're going to have to do a lot of cool automation and stuff. But yeah, I'm going to put a bit of echo on this. And let's get some drum bus on there to make it fatter. And let me also get that side chain, and I'll copy the EQ8, cutting out the low end. Cool. I like this. I want to add one more thing, one more lead. Let's name this stab. I'm going to add like sort of like a high-pitched sort of stringy sound. What we're going to do is we're going to get operator. And we're in F sharp minor. So I'm going to put in something on F sharp. We'll make a very high one. There we go. And then let's get a sidechain onto that just for listening purposes. Cool. And then what we're going to do with this is we're going to make this kind of like complex FM waveform. I'm going to just use a bunch of sine waves here. We'll detune it a little. There we go. And then let's put that through a bandpass filter. And then into a bit of chorus. With some reverb. now we have kind of like a string on top of there. I'm also going to add the Haas effect to this little pad type of stab thing here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to turn that up a bit. And basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get the audio effect rack, and we're going to put it before the compressor, and we are going to make 2 chains. And one of these is going to be panned completely to the left, and one is panned completely to the right. And so basically what the Haas effect is going to do is it takes your sound and splits it into the left and the right signal, and then you push one of them ever so slightly forward, like literally in time, like that, like forward. And then by doing that, when you're hearing the left and the right ear at 2 very close but different times like that, you get like this big wide stereo image. So that's kind of what we're going for. But yeah, so we have the left ear, the right ear. It doesn't matter which one you put it on, but I'm going to put this simple delay here on the right ear. That's what you use, simple delay. What we're going to do is keep the feedback all the way down, turn the dry wet all the way up, and then we're going to link the left and right ear so we just have the one mono signal. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to unsync it, and what that's going to do is we're going to now have this as a matter of milliseconds. And so anywhere between like 10 and 50 milliseconds is good for the Haas effect. So let's try just 10. So here's without it, and then with it. And you can hear if we play this in the track now. It really helps to sort of set this apart from everything else. Like now it kind of defines it a little bit more in the mix, away from that stab, I feel like. Cool, sounding pretty good to me. So now what we're going to do is we are going to start arranging this. So I'm going to cut everything and paste it here. And let's just start with one thing. Let me try starting with like, maybe I'll use the hi-hats and the clap. And then we'll have the kick come in here. Okay, cool. So just had to add in that little. Yeah, there we go. And we can automate the pad, this thing, the filter frequency as well. Like I'm gonna do that. Let's show automation here. And we're just gonna start it super low. And kind of build that up a little bit over time. Yeah, having like some constant motion like that really helps. You can hear like it's so much more interesting, and it's really just because this thing is just slowly moving over the course of what you're hearing. But cool, so we'll keep that going like that, duplicate that, and then switch up the automation a little bit. Same thing, we're going to do some automation on this stab. sounds pretty cool. So you can see kind of what we're doing here is like I'm just basically listening to the track, and as I feel like it needs it, I'm basically adjusting the arrangement. Like, it's not that hard to write arrangements. I know a lot of times it can be complicated. You know, people say like it gets confusing. I'm gonna delete out this part, and we'll just take that and put it there. But like really having like just having something, just starting with something, just saying like, okay, I'm just gonna start with the hi-hats and the clap. You know, it's a really good way to just kind of like dive right into it. And that's really what you need to do. It's not so much about like knowing all these different techniques to come up with arrangements and all that. It's just about just getting started and just doing it as quickly as you can and then kind of thinking from there. Cool, so here's some more automation on the pad stab in this part. Yeah, let's do that. And then we'll do some automation on this stab as well. I like the idea of these just kind of like really building up here. Nice. Now let's duplicate this over. I'm turning on the automation lock. So what that does is basically when you duplicate something, makes it so it doesn't take the automation with it. So like, for example, if I don't have it on, you can see if I duplicate this, takes the automation with it, and then with it, with the automation lock on, you can see. There we go. So we can kind of like... So yeah, just giving this like some movement in here. I'm not trying to go too crazy. Alright, sounds cool. Let's also bring this pad stab into here, but I'm just going to keep the filter all the way down like that, yeah. Cool, I'm also going to cut out those sort of like boxy frequencies that were coming through on the main stab there. Cool. And I'm also going to do this technique for the break. A lot of you may know about this. It's one that maybe some of you more experienced producers may be hating on me for, but that's okay. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to put a utility on the master. And in just the break, so just this section, it's going to be, basically, we're going to have this be on like -3. I might put it at -2. And then we're going to just automate it to come on during that part. So what's going to happen is the break is going to be quiet. Like, it'll go like this. Yeah, let's put that down to -2. So the break kind of chills out a little bit there. And then when it comes back in, there's a lot more energy. I'm gonna get rid of that little kick thing there as well. So yeah, it's kind of a nice way to make it a little bit more intense when the drop comes in. And then it's hitting hard again. Cool, well this is sounding pretty good. At this stage, I'm gonna go in here and add like a little bit more. I'm gonna add another little kick fill here. You know, just kind of like the extra little polishing things that you do to kind of make the track a little bit more interesting right at the end here. That sounds good. all the automation. Sounds good. Let's give this a little bit of automation. This sort of like pad here. What we can do is we can just have this bandpass filter that is filtering this, and we can just automate that. Yeah, there we go. Okay, pretty cool. Awesome. Well, this sounds good. Let's check where the master is hitting now. Alright, we're good. So what I'm going to do now is we are going to do some mastering. So I'm going to go to the loudest part, which is actually right here, because this is when the most things are technically happening. I'm going to turn everything down just a little bit. Cool, and then we're going to start mastering this. The first thing that we're going to do on here is we are going to put an EQ8. And with this, I do this in a lot of these videos, but we're just going to give it a little bit of a low end boost, a little bit of a high end boost. Just kind of helps to improve the punch and the clarity. So after that, what we're going to do is we are going to add a bit of compression. And I'm going to just compress this lightly. We don't want to do a whole lot. Obviously, mastering compression can be a bit of a slippery slope. It can get a bit messy if you use too much and go too crazy. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just dial this back a little bit, just to compress the peaks, but you can hear the difference there. I'll turn off makeup gain as well. So that sounds cool. We can maybe turn it down a little bit. And we'll turn the attack up a little bit as well. So, like I said, that's just the attack of like how long the compression takes to kick in. So, just kind of helps to clean it up and make it not mess up the transients. Cool. And then at this stage, what we're gonna do, this is sounding pretty good. I'll show you. Here's the difference, like with no mastering stuff versus what we've done. So you can hear already big difference. But then the last thing that we're going to do here is we're going to just do a bit of limiting. And we're actually not really going to use this for limiting so much as we are just for like a clean gain boost. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this up about +3. There we go. You can see now it's hitting 0 dB on the master. We have a track that is at the full professional volume level. Now the reason why we're using a limiter instead of just like a utility or something, it would be the same thing if we use the utility. But if I put the utility up +3, you can see. There'll be like a little point like that where it just goes a tiny hair over 0 dB. But because we use the limiter here, it'll catch that little tiny bit that you can't really get. Like, I couldn't turn that down any lower and still have it hit 0. So this just kind of helps when you have a situation like that where it's just slightly over and you can't really fix it. Cool. Well, this sounds pretty good. At this stage, I believe, let's check out the whole track and hear what we've made. Awesome. Well, sounds pretty cool. So that is it. We have gone from a blank Ableton project file to a fully mastered track. So I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, make sure to like this video as well as subscribe, and let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Once again, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets and all that kind of stuff from this video that we just created in the description, so make sure to check for that. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, make sure to check there because it will be available shortly. And yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.